but we gained 2 positions. We're up to P6, and there's a double waved yellow flag because the Camel Straight's blocked. Welcome everybody to round 2 of the Le Mans Endurance Series 2005 in Automobilista 2, where today we will start the European leg of the season as we'll compete in 1000 kilometers of Spa-Francorchamps. In real life, this was the season opener for that championship and the last race for some of these cars before they went over to France for their biggest race of the season at Le Mans. We arrive here off the back of a positively surprising Sebring 12 hours, where we finished second with our number 18 Roll Center Racing as Vanina X. Speaking of the race in Sebring, today will be a bit different because, as the name suggests, this time the race will not be finished after a certain amount of time has passed, but after a certain amount of laps have been completed. In our case, we'll do a fifth of the race distance in these 1000 kilometer races, so that means 200 kilometers for us, which we will have reached after 29 laps. Let's look at the starting grid, at least for the prototype classes, where we'll start from P6, as Vanina's car did in this race, so let's see what could be possible today. Weather conditions are by far not as good as they were in Sebring, as we'll see fog throughout and rain at the beginning, though this is expected to stop at some point. So now, let's go racing at Spa-Francorchamps. And here we are, rolling towards the line. The green flag is out and we are going, almost spinning into the wall immediately on the wet surface. We lose 2 positions down to P8 as we go through Eau Rouge and Ranion, which are the first corners on the sports car layout of the Spa-Francorchamps circuits. Yeah, the only difference between the Grand Prix and Endurance circuit is that the start-finish straight is the run towards Eau Rouge, and there is also the pits, of course. As now we're going into Le Combe. We're very late on the brakes, and oh, this is a bit of a Bottas bowling episode there into Le Combe. We run into the back of our teammate, causing a bit of chaos there. We're still 8th in class, but yeah, we've hurt our teammate badly. Luckily, no one has damaged their cars. We dropped down to 9th in class. There's even one of the LMP2 cars, Paul Belmondo, in the number 41, just briefly ahead of us. Now, round the outside of Brussels we go, and then we are back in P8, but a bit of a messy start. We were catching up then again to Jonathan Cachet by the end of lap 2 in the Courage competition, and yeah, visibility has gotten a lot worse now that the cars are going at full speeds and that the rain's still falling. Round the outside of the bus stop, which went the other way around back in 2005 compared to how this track is today. This is what is the pit straight in the Grand Prix version of this track. Cachet around our outside, but into La Source we move ahead. Well, but still we're lower than where we started. Well, the main issue with the visibility is actually the rain and the spray right now. The fog isn't even half bad, because, I mean, we can still see everything we need to. So, yeah, let's try to catch up to the group of cars ahead, as I'm still watching Jonathan Cachet in my mirrors. He isn't trying anything into Le Combe. And now all of a sudden they're going very slow here through the bus stop, and now there is a curious phenomenon that I watched in these early races of the stage. As they don't seem to be on full throttle. Look at this, they're crawling towards La Source. I even had to lift there to not run into the back of Emmanuel Collard, and then out of La Source. Look at this, they're just not at full throttle as it seems. What's going on? Look at this. This is only half power what they're going. We're moving past everybody, and into a Rouge we're up to P2. Only Tom Christensen in the ADT champion Audi number 3 is now ahead of us. And yeah, as I said, this is completely weird. I never had this. If these were hybrid cars, I would say, well, there's maybe some technical issue where the battery power is not working properly, or, well, the battery is just empty. But these are normally aspirated cars, and look at that! Christensen, same thing towards Blanchimont. Just a half power, as it seems. He's just cruising. And that is us up to the race lead. But Christensen has found his mojo back again as he tries to dive down our inside into bus stop. I run a bit wide, then I'm on the inside. But he's still somewhat there. I think I got the better exit, but now he's going for... I was watching my mirrors too much. Almost steering into the wall there. Into La Source. Christensen is alongside. We stay with him. Oh, this is a good battle there in these conditions. Very treacherous on the power. Because, yeah, it's so easy to spin these cars if you're trying to get on the power too early. And then Christensen is past again. Look at that. Visibility now really poor if you're close to another car. Yeah. Not so nice to go blindly at 280 kph or what that was. But yeah, we're staying with him now. And again, we manage to mix in with the Audis. Again, strategy will play a key part here. As I said, the rain is expected to stop at some point, and I think already it's getting a bit lighter, the rain. So probably we will run on a dry track at some point, so at least then we will have to. And again, look at this, Tom Christensen, not on the power. And yeah, the point I was making, as we are now back into the race lead going into Pouhon, yeah, strategy will play a key part, because at some point we will have to switch for dry tires, and then we expect at least 2 pit stops for fuel itself. Lap 7 now, and I'm struggling a bit out of this corner as I run wide, and that is Christensen through, and that is, well, I wouldn't say all the good work come undone, because we didn't even have to work for it. We were essentially waved by everybody so far. The only proper move we made was past Cochet. But yeah, we are now approaching lapped traffic for the very first time. The GT2 cars just ahead of us. Maybe this is an opportunity to get back at Christensen, but right now he is rather pulling away at the minute. But let's see what the traffic does. Yeah, and as we go past the final GT2 car of Fabio Babini, the lead GT2 car, yeah, we have to see that this wasn't the best experience, I think, for neither Christensen or me. And again, he's not fully on the power. This is still the wettest part of the track. I think the rain has now fully stopped, and from now on, every lap the track will be a bit dry, and you can even see it already in some spots of the circuit, that there is a bit less spray coming out of the cars ahead. For example, here. Whereas on other parts it's still these big... Yeah! Oh, right on cue. Perfectly. This one I was talking about. Yeah, so I think it will still be a couple of laps until we can actually come in. Lap 12 is what the fuel calculation says we will get to with this load of fuel. We hope that by then we can at least try to go onto the slicks to save an extra pit stop. This would be very good if we could do that. And switch onto the slicks when we have to come in anyway. But for now, I'm still close to Christensen. I'm not close enough to make a move. But then again, this is where the AI is so much braver than me. Out of La Source and then through Eau Rouge, where I'm still a bit cautious to not lose the car. Or maybe it's also just the Audi that works better on downforce, whereas we have the straight line speeds. But yeah, that was the fight with Christensen. At least that is for now. Now here we are, lap 12, and we will have to come in at the end of this lap. Other cars have already been in, and I think they have switched onto slicks, because look at this here. Ahead of us is the courage of Alexander Frey. He has a messy race. He's running with the LMP2 cars at the moment, and he's been in. And we see no spray anymore. And look at the temperatures of our tires. They are beginning to overheat, which means it is time to get rid of the wets and onto the slicks. And even here, the wettest part of the track, there is still a bit of water, so we need to be careful the next lap. But yeah, we will still be fine, I think, on the slicks. And I definitely think the slicks are the better tires. Now, the one risk that we have is I tried to do my stint as long as I can. I wasn't confident to switch 1 or 2 laps earlier. I think other cars like the Courages, that Pescarolos, that had to come in because their fuel mileage isn't as good as ours. They probably are on the slicks already, even though Frey was very slow there. This was not for position, we were lapping him as I run wide there. But yeah, so there is a chance that we will get undercut by them. Because they were able to use the quicker tyre, or what I assume is the quicker tyre in these conditions already. And I think you can quite clearly see it here. Okay, I was very early in the power as well. There goes Frey down our insides, but we will dive into the pits anyways and change for slicks and fill up our fuel tank. Ahead of us, Christensen was in as well, but he's not the car exactly ahead of us. This is Alan McNeish. And again, the Audi crew has done a quicker pit stop, and this here will be very dangerous. Already we see we lost a position. We are down to P3. Second, we were ahead of our pit stop, and we even dropped to 5th as one of the Pescarolos and Stefano Telli in the Oreca Audi. They have passed us. We're down to 5th. We managed to get through the pit exit, which is still very wet, but we have cold tires now. And in these conditions, with off the line still being a bit wet, not so nice. So we really have to be careful now. And look at this. We're really crawling at the moment. Tires only slowly gaining temperature. And that is the second Pescarolo through, and behind us, Jonathan Cachet is pushing as well. I hope that by the end of this lap the tires will be up to temperature and I can try to push again. In the wet conditions we were right there with the pace. Right now I'm not too optimistic about the dry or dry-ish running, which unfortunately will be the bigger portion of this race, as we're not even at the halfway point. And no new rain is expected for the rest of the race. Tires slowly up to temperature. But still I'm pretty much driving on my mirrors. And yeah, also I'm not too confident about finding the braking points, because now on the dry track they are different to where they were on the wet track. And out of La Salles, that is Cachet through. And behind me now, Alan McNeish in the Audi pushing as well. Down to 7th already. Remember, the top 8 get points. It's that Formula 1 point scoring system, the same as it was from 2003 to 2009. As we stay with Cachet on the Camel Straight. Oh, look at that. We're even gaining here. Have we found our rhythm? Oh, yellow flag. But I think that was for something behind us, because it turns green here. As I run wide through Brussels. And this is annoying, because that is McNeish through. And immediately, look at that. Our teammate. Good news, he's right with the music. Just a couple of seconds behind McNeish, and we have to let him through as well, because I am running wide everywhere. I have massive understeer at this point. Look at this. Now I try to be early in the power to not lose too much, and that yeah, loses me even more as I go into the gravel. And yeah, that is us very far away from the points now immediately. But good news, I was catching up again. I found my foot and I was gaining time again. And we were approaching more lapped traffic, and this time even more critical or chaotic. These are the GT1 cars that we're trying to lap, who themselves are trying to lap the GT2 cars. So from here on, traffic is getting chaotic, and look at that. The car ahead of the Porsche ahead of us is now again our teammate. So we're back in the fight for the final point scoring positions. But for now, we have to clear Botschleitzinger in the Risi Competizioni. Sorry, no, it's not the Risi Competizioni Ferrari, because indeed that was a Porsche. But anyway, we are now trying to catch up to our teammate. Oh, this is ideal. You don't want to catch a back marker through Eau Rouge. Fabio Babini again, but I think we've cleared the GT2s now. So, yeah, full focus now on catching up to Michael Krum, who is the car ahead of us now, and who we are actually racing for position. Well, now we are really close to Krum. and into the bus stop. There is an opening on the inside and we slip past. Oh, but we run a bit wide at the exit. Can he use this to get back at us? For the moment he can't. But then again, Lassalle still an issue for me this race. But I'm getting a bit more confident now under braking. So he will have the chance for a great run if he gets a good exit out of Radion on the Camel Straight. As through the fog we go, trying to maximize our exit, and I think this is looking decent. So at the moment now I'm preparing for my next and last pit stop, because this isn't too far away either. You can already see we moved up another position. I completely missed that, as we are now 7th, and off the road I go through Les Combes, because I was setting up my pit stop. I won't change tyres to save a bit of time with our next pit stop and just have a quick splash and dash. Krum gets really close to us after that mistake. Yeah, but I'm done with that. Yeah, as you see, now this time I think we will have an advantage with staying out longer. Because look at that, we're up to P3 by the time we have to come in, because the cars ahead of us all had to pit before us. Well, except from 2 of the Audis, of course. They're unbeatable. What concerns fuel. And there we go. And now watch the top left. Already down to 4th. But can we make the overcut work? This will be a lot shorter pit stop, as you were able to see there. Already we're out. We are 6th. 7th total. Some LMP2 cars still ahead of us, which I assume will have to stop as well. But we gained 2 positions. We're up to P6, and there's a double waved yellow flag because the Camel Straight's blocked. Oh, we run into the back of one of the Audis who was stuck there, and then I think I made it through, but then there is a big hit then into the rear, and we lost our rear wing. Chaotic scenes at the end of our second pit stops, just as we exit the pits, and I can tell you we had to come in again. But let's find out what happened. And it all started with Ron Fallows leaving the pit lane in his Corvette. Here is the ghosting thing that Automobilista 2 always does when exiting or entering the pits. But he somehow still loses it as he gets distracted by that LMP2. Then he's facing the wrong way on the Camel Straight. And then here is his teammate just lapping Joe Macari in the number 92 Ferrari GT2. And he hits him. He is now even more dangerously across the racing line. And look at that, he's slowly going there, and then the LMP1 leaders arrive at the scene, hit him, stop on track. There is a clutter of cars then building, and even more are coming. More cars running into the back there. Look at this. This is just pure chaos, and then the blockage gets even wider as more cars arrive at the scene. And then here I come. I almost thought I might find a way through on the grass, but some of the Audis just put it in reverse. And then, yeah, I'm at the top of that queue now, almost through, and then, again, it's a GT1 Aston Martin that slams into the back of our car, makes us lose the rear wing, so a lap later we had to come in for repairs. But the good news is both Pescarolos had to come in as well. So at the moment, we're 9th. Here are the repairs. Collard made it through. Ayari, who started this from pole position and was fighting at the front. Unfortunately, he's now out of the points, but at least we're up to 8th. So we are in a point-scoring position, and look at that, we were now fully pushing. The suspension might be a bit bent, as you can tell by the angle of my steering wheel, but we are still catching up to Emmanuel Collard in P7. And as we are starting the penultimate lap, as we are just coming around the final corner, there still is a chance for us to gain 1 more position and therefore 1 more point in this race. Let's just pray for some traffic, because that could bring us closer if, of course, Collard meets them at unfortunate corners on the track for him. And look at that, we might not even need traffic as we are now really close to him. Not the greatest of exits out of the bus stop, but still, there is a chance maybe even without traffic, and traffic is arriving there. Into La Source we go. Can he find a way past the Ferrari? Yes, he can. Oh, he got that one at a perfect spot, but we can also just slip through as well. Final lap of this race started now. Up Rouge through Rallion. And again, this is unfortunate because he gets that Aston Martin right on the Camel Straight. We also get him there. Bit of slipstream. Collard wasn't held up, but neither were we. This was the circuit's prime overtaking spot that we have now passed. But there is another one, two even, coming up. Of course, the bus stop chicane towards the end of the lap, and then La Source, the final corner in this configuration of this circuit. Crucial now to stick with Collard to be able to try something there. We have already made a move past a competitor into the bus stop. Our teammate it was back then, when our car was still facing straight. But as you see, the pace is still good. And I'm now super motivated as I see there is still a chance. And there are some more back markers. Some more GT2 cars. Oh, Daryl O'Young. And this is very unfortunate for us. We caught him right there. Yeah, I get a bit mad with him, but honestly, where was he supposed to go? This is just unfortunate because Collard got by easily. And yeah, we caught him right into the apex of that corner there. And then this is almost it, but look at that dive from so far back past the Corvette we go. And there is even more traffic. It's an outside chance, only one more corner to go. We're still far away, but maybe he gets pinched. Maybe he gets boxed in by the cars ahead. These are two more cars. The Cycle Porsche going to the inside. Collard tries to get through. Can we cut down the inside? No, we can't. And so ultimately P8 is all we could do in this race, unfortunately. And here then are the full results of this race. It's an Audi 1, 2, 3, 4. They completely dominated that one. Jonathan Cochet for Courage Competition, best of the rest in 5th. Our teammate 6th, which is a very good result after that very disappointing race at Sebring where he was last and wasn't even able to keep all of the LMP2 cars behind him. Emmanuel Collard 7th, and we finished just behind in 8th. And then on the second page we already see the LMP2 winner Andy Lally for Miracle Motorsports ahead of Paul Belmondo, again 2 turbocharged cars. Sohail Ayari and Alexander Frey, disappointing races for Pescarolo and Courage, though Ayari, well, we saw what happened to him, lost his rearing as well and spent a lot of times in the pits. Then again, unsurprisingly, the winners in GT1 are Aston Martin, Pedro Lamy ahead of Darren Turner once more, and they even beat one of the LMP2 cars of Val Hillebrand for G-Force Racing. And then it's a win for Fabio Babini and Ferrari in GT2. Disappointing races for Apicella and Ron Fellows, but we saw what happened to Fellows. He was the cause for that massive pile-up on the Camel Straight. And in the standings, it's now also an Audi 1, 2, 3, 4, but not as dramatic as, yeah, we're just 7 points behind the overall leader, JJ Lehto, and yeah, just a handful of points behind the next 2 Audis. We can all still fix this. Emmanuel Collard 6th, Cachet 7th, and Krum now also on in the top 8 with the 3 points he scored today. In LMP2, well, it's still the turbos in the top 4, but the V8s have come closer, especially Newton for Ray Mallock Limited. Yeah, they had a good result, podium for them today. And then, unsurprisingly, in GT1, it is the Aston Martin show that we expected, but Peter Cox and the Lamborghini doing pretty well in Third, yeah, the Corvette's a bit disappointing so far. And in GT2, it's a very interesting situation. 3 cars on 16 points. Butch Leitzinger, Fabio Pepini and Mark Lieb, 2 Ferraris, 1 Porsche, and then the rest of that class are all on 7 points. Yeah, so a very, very interesting battle there shaping up for the remainder of the season. And that has been the second round of the Le Mans Endurance Series 2005. The next race that we will see are the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2 weeks' time. And this one is going to be very exciting. I hope subscribe to not miss that, leave a like if you did enjoy this video, and I hope to see you all the next time. Until then, goodbye.